looks a little better. So let's roll with it. And Nick, if you notice anything wonky at any point, just let me know, because I can actually keep track of the chat now, unless I'm looking down here. So, right now I'm working on the smaller, over here, I'm still getting used to it, smaller of the two swords. The other one is not quite as far along as this one, so I'm going to work on this one. I also noticed that I'm going to need to order more Worbla probably. So we're just going to do this sword for now. So this is how far along I am. You can see it's kind of thick and chunky, thicker on the back, a little thinner on the front, as swords are wont to be. It's got a big, thick, chunky handle, which, according to another reference photo that I saw, it shows the handle's pretty chunky in hand. So I tried to make it big, and I used, this is just PVC pipe, and there's also a wooden dowel in here to add a little support. And I cut out a piece of foam core, which is that stuff that you use to make presentations and stuff on, after I drew the sketches of the swords, which I still have, although now they're in pieces. So this was the original sketch I did of the blade. This is the sketch I did of the bigger blade. You can see it's quite a bit bigger, and it's got some features here on top. But we'll do that another time. And then I also have sketches of the handles, which are here, but they're folded up. I won't unfold those right now. And then this is the finial that goes on the end. This is more, I'm probably going to purchase a finial that is about like this, and then just kind of modify it as needed if I even need to, if I'm really lucky. I will find a finial that is just the right shape and size, but that never happens, so let's, you know. Anyway, so I drew this paper sketch. I traced it onto a piece of foam core. I cut it out with my X-Acto knife, and then I cut out a slot in the foam core to accommodate the handle that I had built up, that I used industrial hot glue that my dad has and was kind enough to let me use. It holds extremely well. It's harder to work with. It's a little more expensive. You tend to waste a little bit more of it because it comes in a tube. It's actually it comes in a tube instead of sticks. But it gets very hot, and the bonding is unbelievable. You can stick two pieces of wood together, as I did for a few test pieces, and my dad has done before and shown me, and you can really lay into them and they just won't come apart. It's kind of amazing. So I used that for the handle inside, and then I cut the slot. I glued it on so that the handle was centered inside of the piece of foam core, and then I took some spray foam and laid down a layer of spray foam on both sides. Once it totally set, which was about overnight, I just gave it overnight. I think you can technically do it in 8 hours or so, but I did it overnight. And then I used a big knife/saw to shave it down, cut it down to the size of the pattern. And then, once that was done, I took some foamies, some craft foam. You know, this stuff, you can get it at any craft store. Comes in a million colors. The color doesn't really matter because it's going to get colored over, so that's why it's red, because who cares? And I had to glue two pieces together, which is what this seam is, because it wasn't quite long enough. So I glued two pieces together with some regular hot glue. I traced the pattern, which you can see there's like a blue line outlining. Cut it out, and then I hot glued it down. Did the same to the other side, and then at the edges I put some glue inside and then mushed them together with my hands. Tried to bring the edges together, tried to make it pretty symmetrical from one side to the other, but the Worbla should fix any ails with that. So now we're on to the next step, which is to cover the whole freaking thing in Worbla, which is going to be really cool. So this is my Worbla right here. I have enough to do this sword, and like I said, I'm going to have to get another piece for the other sword. And I'm thinking, so this sword is a little chunkier by comparison than the pattern is. So I'm thinking about just tracing the sword itself, and I'm going to need 2 of them onto the Worbla. So one of the good things about Worbla as a material is that you can't really waste it. While it's nice to have flat sheets for certain applications, one of the great things about it is that you can take any scraps of any size, collect them. I kind of collect mine in a bucket, and save them. And then if you need to model some small bits and details, you can heat them up and mush them together and sort of make them almost like modeling clay. And then you can really make whatever you want with it. You can sculpt it, really, if you get it warmed up. So that's a pretty wonderful thing about Worbla. So now, I'm gonna cut this out. It's actually surprisingly hard to cut when it's in unheated, flat form. It's very tough and rather stiff. When it's warm, when you heat it up, it's extremely easy to cut with scissors or with your X-Acto knife. It's very easy to mush around and manipulate. I may have shown you this before, but I made some crowns for the 3 Princess Fionas in Shrek the Musical that I was in last year. It was my first time using Worbla, and it was wonderful. But cutting out the initial kind of chunks of crown was surprisingly difficult. But as soon as I warmed it up, even if it wasn't super, super hot, it just like mushed and got into all the little crevices. It was just so amazing. Gotta be smart about this. Trace it. Even though this bottom part is like weird. This whole thing is just like a weird wonky piece. It doesn't need to be exact at this point in time. But I want to cut out a similar size piece for front and back. Failed. Yeah, all these weird wonky scraps that in other materials you probably wouldn't be able to use for much. These are gold with Worbla, which is one of the things that makes its rather high price point sort of easier to digest, because you really can use almost every single bit that you purchase. But Worbla is pretty expensive, and if there's anybody out there watching my stream who would like to contribute to my continued use of Worbla and other lovely materials, donations are accepted and appreciated, and they will go toward supplies for my cosplays and for better streaming. And if I ever make enough from donations, they will also go toward nicer quality of life for yours truly. But for now, I also just appreciate you watching, so thank you for coming by. Okay, so we have our shape here. It's gonna go here. Now on Worbla there's like a kind of a shiny side, which you can see if I do this. This side's shiny, and this side not so much. It's kind of rough. It's kind of a rough surface. So the shiny side is like a little bit sort of sticky, not exactly, but when you heat it up, it's a little tacky. So this will be the side that I'm gonna want to heat up and then smush face down. Then just however it looks, just gonna flip it over, do the same thing to the other one, and then we'll really start to shape it and make it look good. So I have a heat gun here. Heat gun. And I have it set to, gosh, I don't even know what, a very high number. I think I'm going to set it to about 800 degrees. I honestly haven't done enough research. Me, cosplay expert, not really. I just do what I can. Oh no, looks like, has my chat gone out? It may have. Hello? Go to test. Crap. Now I got all kinds of wonky stuff going on with my computer. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. Bear with me. I don't know what's happening. Bear with me. I don't know what's happening. Bear with me. Okay, I mean, it looks okay. So I will keep going. Okay, I mean, it looks okay. Feel free to also tweet at me if there's some issue you want to let me know about my stream, or if the chat doesn't seem to be working, or if something strange is happening. I usually have my Twitter open. I mean, it looks okay. Feel free to also tweet at me if there's time has come. We're gonna heat it up. Issue. I am actually a little nervous about doing this on my table. I've got a cutting, a nice thick cutting mat here. Okay, I mean, but before I did it on my tile floor, because time has come. We're gonna heat it up to heat out. I'm actually a little nervous about doing this on my table. I've got a cutting, a nice thick cutting mat here. Okay, I mean, but before I did it on my tile floor, comes the hairdryer sound. Time has come. We're gonna heat it up to heat out. I'm actually a little nervous about doing this on my table. Always keep the heat gun moving. Don't leave it in one place. You can burn pretty much anything. And always keep the heat gun moving. Also, you need to have a safe place to set the heat gun down after you're done heating pretty much anything. Obviously, and this tip gets really hot. Always keep the heat gun moving. And I have melted also a little bit. Have a safe place to set the heat gun down after you're done heating pretty much anything. Because I wasn't paying attention to where the tip was. Obviously, and that can be really dangerous. Obviously, always keep the heat gun moving. And I have melted also a little bit. Have a bigger piece, the longer it will take down after you're done heating pretty much anything. Because I wasn't paying attention to where the tip was. Obviously, you can't really see it on the video, but really dangerous in real life. Then I have melted also a little bit. Have a bigger piece, the longer it will take down. Gets a little shiny and sticky. I wasn't paying attention to where the tip was. Also, the curl of it relaxes on the video, but really dangerous in real life. Then I have melted also a little bit. Have a bigger piece, the longer it will take down. Gets a little shiny and sticky. I wasn't paying attention. The bigger, it's also harder to see it relax on the video, but all at once in real life. Then I have melted also a little bit. Have a bigger piece, the longer it will take down. Gets a little shiny and sticky. I wasn't paying attention. The bigger, it's also harder to see it relax on the video, but all at once in real life. Then I have melted also a little bit. Have a bigger piece, the longer it will take down. Gets a little shiny. should more or less stay in place. That's pretty good. I'm going to do the Kinger's sword underneath. A little bumpy, but we can work that should more or less stay in place. That's pretty good. I'm going to do the Kinger's sword underneath. And we're going to heat up the piece for the other side in the same way. A little bumpy, but we can give ourselves a little holster to hold my heat gun. I just put a clamp on the underside of my table, and it's got a metal bar for the other side in the same way. It's strong enough I can hang it by its handle on the give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar for the other side. Well, keep it out of the way and keep it from becoming too powerful. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you, but that's okay. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you, but that's okay. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Give myself a little holster to hold my it points the tip up, so I have to be careful not to burn myself with it. But and it's got a metal bar. Now that's really cool. Hi. I probably know most or all of you. Oh, that's not good. Well, let me put this piece on here and then I will look into that for a second. It probably, even though I explicitly told it not to, is gathering. Put this piece on here and then I will audio from this for a second. See what's going on here. It probably, even though I explicitly told it not to, is gathering. Put this piece on here and then I will audio from this for a second. See what's going on here. It probably, even though I explicitly told it not to, is gathering. Put this piece on here and then I will audio from this for a second. See what's going on here. It probably, even though I explicitly told it not to, is gathering. Put this piece on here and then I will audio from this for a second. See what's going on here. It probably, even though I explicitly told it not to, is gathering. Put this piece on here and then I will audio from this for a second. See what's going on here. It probably, even